Democratic Congressman Marc Veasey of Fort Worth, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. So first, I wanted to get your reaction to the tragedy unfolding in San Antonio, where now we are hearing 50 people died after being transported in a very hot tractor trailer.
Yeah, very sad. It shouldn't be that way. But as long as there is the sort of turmoil and chaos in our southern border, particularly those countries to our south, Costa, I'm sorry, um, in Honduras, in Guatemala, in those various countries, Nicaragua, El Salvador, as long as the sort of instability, the issues that they're having there with narcos and drug trafficking, people are going to continue to flee, and so we need to reform the system. We need something that's more orderly. Obviously, human smuggling and what you see at our border the last several administrations is not something that is viable and sustainable long term. It's just not. And I think that it's very important for the American people of all political parties to demand that the United States Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives come together and pass something that makes sense, and that we also invest in stability in those countries. That was what Bill Clinton did when he was president, and with Colombia in particular. And now Colombia is a much more stable place than it was back in the 80s because of President Clinton's work. And we need to do something similar there in Central America.
I interviewed Senator Cornyn earlier in the day, and I asked him, in view of what was accomplished in, following Uvalde as far as the bipartisan legislation, if that is something that can happen on this issue. And he said that we've tried before and I'm going to keep trying. Unfortunately, the Biden administration seems to be completely paralyzed by its base, which doesn't believe in any kind of border controls. And that's been the problem. Maybe this will shock the conscience to the point it will actually prompt some action. What's your response to that?
I think that we need action from their side. I would love for Senator Cornyn to lay out his plan for comprehensive immigration reform. I would love to look at that. And for the Republicans to say, here's a plan for guest workers, here's a plan for comprehensive immigration reform to stop this from happening. This is all the blame of the Republicans. We have tried. We thought that we had one in 2013, my freshman year in Congress. We thought we were going to get another one in 2014. And it didn't happen. And if you listen to the rhetoric, particularly from some of our local talk radio show hosts, they almost talk in replacement language type rhetoric on these shows. It's ridiculous. And what it's done, it's paralyzed the Republican Party to the point to where we have incidents like what just happened in San Antonio. To his credit, Republican President George W. Bush tried to get a comprehensive immigration reform bill passed, but now the late Rush Limbaugh here on one of our local radio stations, it killed it. Literally, they had people call into senators' offices and call in the U.S. House of Representatives offices and killed President Bush's immigration reform bill. And as long as they're going to engage in that language, and as long as they're going to engage in that sort of rhetoric, and if you can go back and listen to some of the old audio with people like Limbaugh talking about, the Democrats, if they were serious about comprehensive immigration reform, they wouldn't let these people have a pathway to citizenship. They're obsessed with race. These Republicans are so obsessed with race and numbers that has paralyzed them and stopped them from passing a plan. And what happened in San Antonio is 100% absolutely their fault.
Let me ask you this. Is there enough, because with the gun legislation that passed, obviously no one got 100% of what they wanted. And is there enough agreement, areas that Democrats and Republicans agree so that you're not going to get a comprehensive deal, but you can, maybe there's agreement on securing the border. Maybe there's agreement on other things, the guest worker program. I don't know. Where things can be agreed upon and you work on the rest of the stuff.
There should be enough agreement because the people that heavily support the Republican Party, they come to my office all the time saying we need to do something. The oil and gas industry, the agriculture industry, the hospitality industry, all construction, home builders, all of these people routinely, not sometimes, routinely come and see me or call me or send correspondence saying we need to pass a comprehensive immigration reform bill pass. It's a shame they haven't used their money and their resources to go on television and go on social media to fight back. But these guys are diehard Republicans. They come to the Capitol in their cowboy boots and their cowboy hats. I'm talking about the cattle ranchers now. They come and they talk with us about all sorts of issues, and usually the top issue is comprehensive immigration reform. We really need for these outside groups too that give heavily to the Republican Party and don't support the Democratic Party that much. We need for them to pressure our two senators and Republican House leaders, because honestly, it's the Republican stance on this, and them being so concerned and overly obsessed with race and who gets to come to this country based on race, that it's really stopped them from doing anything. This is 100% their fault, and the reason why nothing has been done, honestly, is 99% racial.
Let me ask you though, where is President Biden's plan? I mean, shouldn't the president come to the table and get something done? If he has, what is it and where is it?
The president has been clear that he wants to get something passed. It's up to the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate to legislate. It's the president's job to either sign a bill into law or veto it. And I have 100%. I am 110% confident that if we pass a bill and the Senate and Schumer is able to get 10 votes in the Senate, if the Republicans and Mitch McConnell will cooperate with the majority leader, then I guarantee you that we can get something to Biden's desk. And I guarantee you that the American people will like that system a lot better than the human smuggling system where 50 people have died in the back of a truck and locked in the back of a truck and weren't able to get out. I promise you that the system that we can pass will be better than the status quo. But what the Republicans are doing, they're trying to run the clock down yet again so they can do nothing like they did in Trump's first term and get nothing passed. That's what they want to do. And as long as they can hold it up in the Senate and not provide the 10 votes, then that's exactly what we're going to get, is status quo and absolutely nothing. All of this is the Republicans' fault, all of it.
The Senator Cornyn says that he introduced this bill either last year or in 2020, a bipartisan border bill, and he had Congressman Cuellar, Congressman Gonzalez, both from Texas, Senator Sinema from Arizona on board. It hasn't gone anywhere. So
I'm not familiar with his bill, but I know in the past that whenever we've tried to do something, at least since I've been a member, and then before I was a member, I cited the Republicans literally 86 in George W. Bush's plan. They're the ones that are always in the way. They're the ones that are always in the way of us getting something passed that's comprehensive, that makes sense, that would create a lot more order at the border. And again, even after we pass a plan, you have to do something to stabilize those countries. There needs to be some sort of plan in place, like the Clinton administration did in Colombia, that is going to bring stability. I've been to Honduras, I've been to Guatemala, and in particular Honduras. If you were to go there, you wouldn't be surprised that people flee and leave all the time. It's like any other part of the world. This just happens to be happening at the steps of our border. But if you look anywhere around the world, whether it's migrants from Africa trying to cross very treacherous and dangerous waters to get into Italy, or different parts of the world, when you saw Ukrainians trying to flee their homeland, trying to make it into Poland and surrounding areas, when people think that their lives are in danger and their children's lives are in danger, there's going to be famine, people leave. And until we fix that problem along our in Central America, and we need to be a part of the solution, and Mexico needs to be a part of the solution as well. There needs to be some order brought there, and that's how you really fix it. But we can take step one, and that's passing a comprehensive immigration reform bill, and not getting into these ridiculous racist arguments over when people can become citizens. That's insane. We need to pass a bill.
Let me ask you about the Supreme Court's ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade on Friday. First, your reaction to this?
Yeah, I was, not surprised, to be quite honest with you, not surprised at all. You have two people that sit on that court that are highly political in everything they do. And the two people that I'm specifically talking about are Judge Thomas and Alito. Alito worked in the Reagan administration. He was the one that advised the Reagan administration not to push too much on Roe v. Wade because the timing wasn't right, and that there would be a political price to pay. And so he was the one advising him back then. And so they thought that the time was right to get this passed now with the 6-3 majority that they had on the court. And I'm not shocked at all. They've been working on this for the last 50 years. And I think that it's a devastating blow to women in this country. I think it's an embarrassment, quite frankly, to the state of Texas. And I think that Beto O'Rourke is going to get a bump in the polls. And this is going to be a very competitive governor's race, because Abbott is just going to sit there and just blurt out the Republican talking points on this. He's not going to stand up for women. He's not going to defend individual rights as it relates to reproductive freedom in this country. He's just going to go along to get along on the Republican side because he wants to run for president. And I have to tell you that I think that is a big mistake. I think that this is going to help Beto out a lot. And quite frankly, I'm glad that it will, because I'm sick and tired of these people down in Austin thinking that they can do whatever it is they want to do and not be held accountable. And when I was in the legislature, you would hear them say over and over, you'd always hear them spouting off on the House floor saying, oh, we can, this is Texas. We can never lose the majority in the House or the Senate. We can never lose the governor's seat. Democrats can never win statewide. We'll never lose the lieutenant governor's gavel. You'd hear them saying that they can pretty much do whatever it is that they want, including stealing rights away from people. And there needs to be some checks. There needs to be some checks and balances. Oftentimes voters will use the midterm elections as a way to balance things out. And with this decision, you can see that there's disproportion here. So we need for Texas voters to help balance out this situation that we have in Austin. And it's crazy that Kim Paxton, that's under federal investigation, is talking about making this a state holiday in the AG's office from here on out. It's insane that we have gone that far to the right to where it sounds like that we're living in the 1950s.
Let me ask you about the thought from some people that the decision, they supported what the court decided, the majority decided in this, and saying, hey, we as a court don't have the authority for this. We're sending it back to the people, the states, and let the state legislatures and let them decide, and ultimately the voters will decide in the elections. What's wrong with that?
Because it was, first of all, at least two of the justices that went through their confirmation process said that they saw it as settled law and that we didn't need to go back and revisit it. I would say that that's the first thing, that they lied to the American public. The second thing is that why shouldn't women in Texas have the same rights as women in California? That absolutely makes no sense on something that's so personal to people, something that's so personal to women. Why wouldn't they have the same option, especially when it comes to whether or not you're going to deliver a baby into this world? It's unfair, it's wrong, and saying that it can be left up to the states is dangerous and scary. And I really do think that we're on a slippery slope. You saw that Judge Thomas said that he would like for states to be able to regulate whether or not people should be able to have birth control pills and condoms. That's ridiculous. I've had these right to life people come into my town hall meetings before and say that that birth control doesn't work and that IUDs don't work. They come and say these like insane things, and leaving something like that up to the states, whether or not people can seek an abortion or whether or not women and men can have contraception. I think leaving those sorts of decisions up to the state is wrong. It would be like leaving segregation or integration up to the states. We just wouldn't do that. Because it's so broad and affects so many people that you wouldn't want to have these rights for people in one state but not have them in another. And there are some issues that reset level in abortion is definitely one of them.
But I know in the majority opinion, they said that they're not, this doesn't have an impact on contraception or, gay marriage, et cetera. This was very focused.
They did say that.
Only Justice Thomas said, mentioned the other things. The others, even in whether in concurring opinions or the majority, said this is just focused on abortion.
Thomas is calling the shots now, though. But everybody that has been watching the court the last couple of years will tell you that it's Thomas that's calling the shots now. That these other justices, probably because he's a Black conservative, that they are following him and basically using his far right, this revenge that he's been wanting to seek. That they're probably using that as sort of a cloak to hide behind him. But he seems to have a lot of influence on that court, and I wouldn't discount anything that he says, regardless of what they wrote.
Last question, Congressman, and I really appreciate your time, and that is the gun safety legislation that passed last week. You voted for it. And so just wanted to get your reaction. It's been signed into law. How impactful will this be?
I think that it will definitely help, particularly the part where you wouldn't want someone that was 17 years old, now that they're 18 and they have severe mental problems, just be able to go and purchase a gun. I think that part of the bill in particular is going to be very helpful. Ultimately, we do need to pass the background check bills. It doesn't make any sense. You look at what happened in Charleston, South Carolina. 9 people killed at a Wednesday night prayer service that could have been avoided had the killer had to wait, just another few days. It was because of a glitch in the system that he was able to legally purchase a gun. You look at what happened in Midland, Texas, someone being able to make a private purchase of a gun. We need to close those loopholes. It's not going to stop me or anyone else that enjoys hunting and that enjoys shooting sports from being able to get guns. What the Republicans are doing by not passing the background check bills are basically enabling terrorists, sociopaths, and psychos to be able to own guns. And it's ridiculous. People that are mentally unstable do not need to own guns. People that are criminals and terrorists do not need to own guns. But because of the inaction on the background check bills, it's going to be easy for someone that falls into one of those 3 categories I just mentioned to go and buy AR-15 today. And that's just, and that's wrong. That's not right.
Congressman Marc Veasey of Fort Worth, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack.